is Lauren Oliver, coming to you from my home in Brooklyn, New York. I'm the author of several teen books, including Before I Fall and the Delirium trilogy, and 2 books for middle grade readers, LIESL Po and the Spindlers. Have you ever wondered how a book becomes a book? Well, I'm going to show you. We'll explore how my book, The Spindlers, grew from a little baby idea into a full-fledged finished book. I'm going to tell you what I do as an author and introduce you to some of the people whose job it is to transform stories into actual books. One night, when Liza went to bed, Patrick was her chubby, stubby, candy-grubbing, and pancake-loving younger brother who irritated her and amused her both. And the next morning, when she woke up, he was not. My story ideas typically come from a bunch of different places. I usually have like either a character idea or a theme, a question I want to address. I kind of live with those elements bouncing around in my head, kind of like multiple ping pong balls. And at a certain point, I find that they combine. I'm a cook, and I feel that way, that writing is very similar to cooking in that way. Lots of different ingredients, and at some point they come together and make something hopefully tasty. I definitely have ideas that I carry around with me for months, sometimes for years, before I figure out how to turn that idea or that piece of inspiration into a broader story. I actually have notebooks full of half-started ideas and even half-written manuscripts that I still haven't figured out exactly the key to making them work. Maybe there's something off about the main character, or the book isn't just living in the way that it should. But those things that inspire me, the images or the characters or the drama, they do stay with me over time. And sometimes I'll return to the same idea years after I first had it and finally figure out how to make it work. And certainly in the case of the Spindlers, that was an idea that had inspired me for years and years and years before I actually figured out how to write it. When I was a young girl, I had a large framed signed poster by the author Maurice Sendak hanging directly in front of my bed, so it was something that I would look at every day. And my favorite of his is Outside Over There, though it is perhaps lesser known than Where the Wild Things Are, which is of course his. It's amazing and beautiful, as all of his books are, but also very creepy. It's the story of a girl who is babysitting her younger brother, and she is playing a horn to lull him to sleep when, with her back turned, these goblins sneak into the nursery and steal him and replace him with a baby made of ice. It was one of the major sources of inspiration for me when I was writing The Spindlers. Another of my favorite illustrators is named Arthur Rackham. Several years ago, my sister was studying in Oxford, where Arthur Rackham lived, and she uncovered these 2 prints by him. In one of the prints specifically, it shows fairies sneaking into a nursery, while in the foreground there is a little baby lying unsuspected, and there's a little bit of text that's attached to the print, and the text reads, "It's almost fairy time," in this very ominous way. It really reminded me of the Maurice Sendak story, and just of an evil entity sneaking into a child's room to, snatch up the child and replace it with something that is decidedly not. When I have an idea for a book, I have kind of a very specific way that I go about exploring whether that idea is gonna actually become a book. First, I start writing, normally because I can't help myself. Whenever I get a new idea, I'm very passionate about it. I write about 20 or 30 pages, and at that point, one of 2 things happens. Either I feel that this might have a lot of steam behind it, and I'm excited about it, but I would like to get somebody else's opinion. And at that point, I might share it with my agent, my editor, or my father, one of those 3 people. Or at that point, after 20 or 30 pages, I realize that actually the idea wasn't very good at all. And at that point, either I'll set it aside and wait and see whether I can come back to it, whether something clicks and I have another aha moment and I figure out how to fix it. Or sometimes I just put it aside indefinitely and wait until the next idea comes and kind of carries me forward with it. The idea for The Spindlers came from several different elements, one of which was a continued desire to do something like what Maurice Sendak did in Outside Over There. Just that image, that powerful image of these kind of evil entities in that book, it was goblins, stealing into a child's room and taking him. That really has stuck with me, and I've always been really grabbed by that, inspired by it. I've always loved Alice's Adventures in Wonderland and Dorothy and the Wizard of Oz. Those are journey books, and books really that are fantasies about getting spirited away suddenly to a new realm and encountering all of these strange creatures and monsters and obstacles in your attempt to go home. And so all of those elements combined for me when I was writing the Spindlers. Once I had an idea for the Spindlers, I could actually start writing the story.